What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. Today is the start of a new video series that I'm going to be doing. I tried this last year, but stuff came up. It was last year or the year before. But basically, it's kind of up in the air right now if the NHL season is even going to start, or if it'll start on, the January, mid-January, whatever, that's when they think it's going to happen. But I want to do previews for every single player on the Toronto Maple Leafs, or at least guys that are surrounding the team that could make the roster as well, obviously before camps and all that stuff gets started. So I'm gonna have to make a ton of videos in the next little while, but I think that it'll be fun. You guys can leave some suggestions down below, maybe as the videos go on, of how I can improve it a little bit, or just give your thoughts on the player and what you think is going to happen with this player. Maybe give their stats, like you guys can guess, and then we can come back to it at the end of the year. Now, keep in mind, we don't really know how many games there's going to be yet. Again, an announcement can come any day, and it could be you're watching this video after all the announcements have been made. But for now, all we know is that the NHL is trying to come back. And it's not going that well, but they're trying to have a mid-January start. So I'm recording this on December 12th, so things can change. But the first video is going to be on the Leafs starting goaltender, and that's Frederik Andersen. Now, he is one of the more interesting guys going into this year, because there was some rumors in the offseason that Freddie Andersen could be trade bait. He could be traded, that the Leafs could upgrade at the goaltending position. And try to save at that position as well. Maybe save some money by letting Jack Campbell take on more starts and getting an affordable 1B type of guy, or just trying to acquire a starting goaltender that would be, at the same level, or maybe even a little bit better, but a cheaper cap hit, because it was possible. There were a couple options, but it probably would have cost the Leafs a lot, like probably picks, probably good prospects, and maybe even a roster player on top of that. And, keeping Freddie worked out better for them in the eyes of management. Now, keep in mind, we're just people talking into a microphone, or, typing on a computer. So we don't know as much as these guys that work in the NHL. We don't know as much as Kyle Dubas, Brendan Shanahan, and all these GMs. So we kind of have to take all those rumors and trade talks with a grain of salt, because unless we're in the room talking with these guys, we have no idea what's really going on. So definitely, if you are new to this channel, though, I will say please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Join the squad. I'd love to have you guys here. But let's look at some numbers for Freddie Andersen. Now, we also know, quick note before we look into it, that Freddie Andersen is going to need a contract after this season. So that's something that is going to be a huge topic of discussion, because he's going to have to play very well to get more than the $5 million that he's making right now. But we'll get into that. So just looking at all of his numbers and everything like that, of course, we're looking at TSN right now, but he's 31 years of age. So this is more than likely going to be the last chance for him to get a big number contract, going towards his later 30s. He's probably not going to make as much money unless he has exceptional seasons and is able to bank in on another contract. It also depends on how much money, how much term is going to be on this next deal. But this last season, 52 games played, you see 2.85 goals against and a .909 save percentage. So not the greatest numbers in terms of the save percentage. You can live with that goals against average, because the Leafs do score quite a lot, but that save percentage definitely is going to have to get better for the Leafs to have a chance to do anything. So if you look at, previous career statistics, and also let's quickly look at the playoff stats here, because this past season he had a really good playoff, 1.84 goals against and a .936 save percentage. Like that's really good. 5 games played, but the Leafs couldn't get it done. They ran into a hot goaltender as well, a couple hot goaltenders in Columbus there. But he's had relatively good playoff numbers, not the 17-18 season. But since he's come to Toronto, he's done very well in the playoffs, and that's kind of where it matters. But within those playoffs, and this is something that I needed to stress to some people, is that he's had really good playoffs, and again, besides that 1 year, but there's a few games where he kind of loses it, and people are maybe saying that it could have something to do with how much he plays during the regular season and how tired he could get, and then the playoffs on top of that, you're going to have a bad game. Well, the Leafs are going to probably try to get Campbell into, a few more games this year. Even with a shortened season, they want Freddie to have the opportunity to be well rested, because he needs to just be lights out like he was in the playoffs this year against Columbus. I think that he had a really good, playoff, but there's a few goals and there's a few games here and there, and even there was a couple goals against Columbus, but there's pucks you got to stop, and fatigue could be a problem when it comes to those bad goals going in. But again, going back to his numbers since he's got to Toronto, he's been really good. The save percentage of the last 3 years there, and the goals against average has been pretty good. But if you're looking at these numbers, and this is where the concern came in, won't let me highlight this, but regardless, this goals against and the save percentage is the worst numbers he's had since he's come to Toronto. And obviously, again, only 52 games played, but I mean, that's pretty damn close to the 60. 8 games can make a difference, but these numbers definitely have to get better. I think what Leaf fans are missing too is they're like, oh, they hang Freddie out to dry, better blue line, blah, blah, blah. There's been, and this is something that if you watch all the games, and don't get me wrong, the Leafs blue line has been brutal, but you can't always blame one particular person or one particular section of the team. If it's a team sport, you all take the blame. You all take, you all take the loss the same way. You all have a contributing factor in it. Now, there's been a few games where people go, oh, you can't leave Freddie out to dry. But if there's only like 15 shots on net and like 3 pretty crappy goals go in, I mean, you have to blame the goalie at some point here. And I'm not saying he takes all the blame, but Freddie is a part of the puzzle. He is a part of the blame. And you have to watch some of these games. Like, you really should go back and reconsider saying that Freddie is always, left out to dry, because there's been some goals where it's like there's shots from the blue line that he could clearly see that are getting by him, and it's kind of like, damn, man, you kind of need to have those for this team to be successful. If you watch other goaltenders around the league, those goals are few and far between. They're not happening because those goaltenders are elite. And, if people are putting Freddie Andersen in that elite territory, you kind of have to look back on some of these shots that have gone in and go, okay, he's got to have those. You have to take it with a grain of salt there. But I definitely don't have Freddie as the number one reason. But this past season, Freddie was instrumental in the Leafs' poor regular season success. He was definitely a part of it. These numbers are not acceptable. The Leafs need to, improve in every asset, and goaltending is definitely one of them. Now, what I need to get to here again is the contract. This is from Cap Friendly. Of course, you guys can see I've zoomed in a little bit. You guys have been saying the zoom has been working. So $5 million was, still is for this past season. And this upcoming one is $5 million, right? So this number here is a number that I'm not sure the Leafs are going to be able to get to with Freddie Andersen after this year. It's going to have to take some wiggle room and stuff like that. Now, without, whatever's going on in the world right now, the Leafs might have been able to afford something like this. But they might have to find a new goaltender after this season, regardless. Because if Freddie Andersen plays poor and he gives you, kind of the same numbers as this, the Leafs might consider bringing him back on a shorter term deal, but it won't be for the money that Freddie Andersen probably gets somewhere else. So he'd probably leave Toronto. But if he plays really well, okay, sure, the Leafs are like, damn, that's great. We had a great season. Freddie helped us win a lot of games, but this $5 million turns into $6.5, more than likely. And that would literally take the Leafs right out of the ball game for him. They're not going to be able to afford the $5 million or the $6.5 or even the $6 million that he could command on the open market, because there will be teams lining up to sign him. Maybe not a ton, because, I mean, a lot of teams are in the same boat as the Leafs. Like, they don't have the type of money to spend on a goaltender. And one thing that I think a lot of teams are looking at nowadays is that, some of these teams that spent huge money on their goaltenders are not, like, the goalies are not performing the way that they should. So, take it a little easy here on all these goalies getting a big contract, because Freddie might not get that big deal because of how goaltenders have played out some of their contracts as of late. But again, this is the numbers. Again, it shows that he will be up at the end of this year. And this is where it's going to get interesting because I have no idea what the Leafs are going to do, especially if he doesn't have a very good season. So if I was to, make a prediction, I think because of the fact that his contract is up at the end of this year, the Leafs have a lot of pressure on them, and he knows he has to play for that money. And for his boys, I mean, those are his friends, those are his teammates. He's well liked. He liked, from what we heard from the players, just from interviews and stuff like that, and just radio hits, whatever it is. Freddie's well liked, and from what Freddie has been saying and posting, like randomly, like we'll see them at a basketball game, or like him living with Austin Matthews for a little bit there. Like it seems like the feeling's mutual. Like they're a good close group, but I don't know. You just can't get those numbers that you got last year from Freddie and expect the Leafs to be better. He needs to be sitting at a 915 to a 918 save percentage and a goals against average that's like 2.65. Like that's the numbers that I need to see from Freddie this year, and that will be good for him and it'll be good for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So leave your suggestions and your predictions down below. I'm going to move on to another player here. Stay tuned, lots to come. And make sure to subscribe. Hopefully Freddie Andersen has a good season this year. Go Leafs go. Peace.